My name is Tanner Renken, and I'm drinking at Moe's.
This is Drinkin at Mo's, where we talk about the pros of pro wrestling in the Midwest while sipping on some brews with blessed beers and wrestling. That's my scene. Death matches and lucha libre, it's all so mean. I'm a straight up smart goofball, not no kiss ass. I stand tall when it comes to wrestling. I'm the king. I know every move, every fling. Get ready for a wild time with Drinkin at Mo's, where we don't quit. Drinkin at Mo's, that's where it's at, like a power bomb. We hit hard, never flat. Fucking right, we're living the dream. Talking about wrestling, know it's a scream.
You know, I've always said here at Drinkinatmos, just because it says drinking at Mo's does not mean it has to be alcoholic. So I'm happy to say Drinking at Mo's is sponsored by Prince Nana Coffee. The, the exact same guy you see every week on Dynamite, on Collision. Yes, he has his own coffee and it's freaking delicious. They don't even roast those beans until you've placed your order. And you might be telling me, hey, Big Mo, I'm more of a tea guy. They got you covered there too. Use the referral link in the description of this video. And let's get you dancing like Prince Nana with Prince Nana Coffee. All right, everybody, welcome Drinking at Mo's. Big Mo here. You know the drill by now. YouTube, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good shit, because YouTube's algorithm is a pain in the ass. I don't know if I'll ever figure it out. We're also on the audio platforms too, most of the major ones. Today, I'm excited because I let it be known that I like to highlight whenever possible talent that is local to me. Yeah, I got talent coming in from all over the place, but when I can put a talent that is local to me on the show, I love it. And the man I have with me today, one intense individual, Tanner Renken. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Oh, I can't complain. You know, getting back into had my this is my first week back at work after the little one made his arrival, so that's been something. And you know, I actually I got it confirmed this week, but at this coming Monday, I will be recording with a New Japan talent.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And a guy from my old stomping grounds when I was stationed out in Southern California with the Navy. So I'm excited. It's a good one. So,
Oh, yeah.
but today I've been excited to have you on because we bump into each other at a couple shows here and there. My regular job has kept me from going to too many of one, but hey, I'm starting to get back out there. But before we get too deep into that, what got you started as a fan, and then what got you deciding to make the leap into the business?
So, I didn't really know anything about pro wrestling until I was about 7, and that's because at like the local neighborhood pool, there was this kid that I had met named Jacob who was a years older than me. He pretty much was like a huge fanatic about wrestling and he kept talking about it and everything like that. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about, but it sounds cool. I trust that it's cool, you know? And so then he was like, well, why don't you come over and I can show you this, this game of wrestling. I was like, okay, bet, yeah, I'm down. So I go over, he pops in SmackDown versus Raw 2007 into the PS2.
Ah, good
Yep.
one.
Yup. And the first thing we play, of course, is a 6-man Hell in a Cell match, because why not?
Oh, yeah.
Yup.
Yeah. Why the heck not? Yeah.
And immediately I was like, yo, this is nuts. Like they actually do this. They do this on TV. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, that's crazy. When are they doing this again? He's like, they do it every Monday and every Friday and blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, bet. And lo and behold, a few nights later, I'm flipping through channels in the last I catch like the last glimpse of Raw that was on, and it was John Cena hitting the FU on Mark Henry, popping a flex right after, and
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, oh my God, this is sick.
Oh yeah. You gotta pop that flex after you
Right.
pull off a move like that on a guy the size of Mark Henry.
Yeah, no kidding. So yeah, I mean, from that point on, I was hooked. I just kept tuning in every week to WWE, and I for a moment I kind of fell out of wrestling. I'd say like around like 2013, 2014.
A lot of us do at different points.
Oh yeah. And but then when AJ Styles jumped
Mm.
ship and showed up at the Royal Rumble, I
Oh
was
yeah.
like, okay, well, I have to see where this goes now. Like, they're gonna start pulling me in, and then soon came the brand split again, and it was starting to feel fresh again. And I was like, all right, I can vibe with this. So I had uh I had always like enjoyed the theatrics that is wrestling.
Mm.
And even when like we were young, beating each other up on trampolines and shit, like we would literally
Yeah.
like I would always focus on doing the moves accurately to how they portrayed them rather than just, oh, let me stiff you, and shit like that. So I had always like enjoyed it a lot, but I never took it serious in the sense of, oh, one day I actually want to be a wrestler.
Yeah.
But when like around like junior year of high school, so like 2016, um, I had decided to finally order a replica title because I had always wanted one, and I finally saved up the money for one and stuff like that. And it was the U.S. Championship
Mm.
because I always loved that one. Plus, I could afford it. So,
Hey, that makes it an added bonus there.
right, right. And so when that showed up on my doorstep, I was really excited. I broke it open, everything like that. I unzipped it, took it out the bag, and I looked at it and I was like, damn, that's pretty cool. And I slung it over my shoulder and I was like, damn, that feels pretty natural. So I was like, it would be cool to like earn one of these legitimately. You know what I
Oh yeah.
mean? So it was like, the seed was kind of planted there, and I was coming up on my senior year. I'd been burnt out after my junior year and doing like honor student shit, and it was
Oh
just
yeah.
it was just like, man, dude, I'm so spent. So when it came to my senior year, I kind of like coasted, and just like relaxed a little bit, got back into football, just doing a whole bunch of shit that I really wanted to do rather than what I had to do. And after leaving high school, like I can't say that wrestling was on my mind, but it was back there somewhere.
Yeah.
My original plan was to go to University of Nebraska Lincoln for 4 years, transfer to University of Nebraska Omaha, get my PhD in psychology, everything like that. After one semester, I said, fuck this, and I dropped out. And after that, I asked my wife, I was like, hey, how crazy would it be if I did actually finally attempt this wrestling thing? And finally, like this was the third time I had asked throughout our relationship. Finally, she was like, you know what? Fuck it. Just do it. Like, let's see what happens. I was like, all right, bet. And immediately from there, I just started looking up everything I could as to how to become a professional wrestler.
All right. Yeah, and you've been off to the races here locally. I know the main place that I've ran into you at a few times over at Pro Wrestling Phoenix, PWP Live, and that they, most independent wrestling that I've seen, minus a few here and there, it's all weekends, maybe Friday through Sunday.
Mhm.
PWP that every once in a while, but it's mostly like Wednesday, Thursday,
Mhm.
and which me traveling from Lincoln back to here, and sometimes the podcasting, I don't get to go near as much, but I do love their product. It's a good pace. Draw they draw in lots of great crowds. I know actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, because we all know sometimes cage match doesn't get everything right, but
Mhm.
your first match that was at least listed was against a very good friend of mine, even though he says he's not your friend, Branden Juarez.
Yep.
The guy actually introduced me to my wife, and I made him the best man at my wedding.
Oh hell yeah.
I legit told him, you know, you introduced me to the woman, you earned the damn job. But yeah, what was, it like with you in there with him? Because, I mean, he's not, I mean, I'm not trying to shame anybody. He's not a small individual.
Sure.
And, that being like one of your first, if not the first match, that's it. And, against a guy who he's a Nebraska Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer, what was it like in there with him? Because he does do a lot of training with people now. And I mean, I knew back then he still did too, but not on the scale that it is at the moment.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, that whole situation was wild for me, mostly because so I had originally started my training in 2019, but when COVID hit,
Oh
I had
yeah,
to put it on the back burner.
yeah,
My wife is diabetic, and because of that, I couldn't risk leaving the house or anything like that, right?
yeah, yeah. No,
Yep.
that was a wild time that we all like to forget.
Exactly. So, from 2020 through most of 21, I really just kind of didn't do anything, which really sucked for me. But at the time, it was for the greater good. So, like I think it was like August of 21 that I finally came back to PWP to continue training and stuff like that. I had put on a shit ton of weight. I got like during COVID, I think I peaked at like 286 when I was hovering at 255. And so it was just like I was completely out of shape. I had a lot of ring rust to shake off. And so from August till I think that match happened in January of 22.
I wanted to say it was
Um,
about that I saw. Yeah.
yeah. And one of the wrestlers couldn't make it
Mm,
winter, traveling and
yeah.
stuff like that. So Chris just kind of pulled me aside and was like, "Hey, we kind of don't have any other option. Would you like to do this?" I was like, "Well, of course." And he was like, "Okay, perfect. Then you're gonna be working Brandon." I said, "Oh fuck, I'm working Brandon." He's like, "Yep." I was like, "Oh fuck." Okay, let's do it then. And I of course had, I had known Brandon. He would help from time to time before the shows and offer advice, great advice as always.
Oh yeah.
And it was just like, but it was very intimidating because, it's Brandon Juarez. So it's like, it's not necessarily like it's a straight up test, but it's gonna have that feeling because it's like you want to make sure you don't look like an idiot, and you want to make sure you don't do something to make him look like an idiot, you know?
Yeah. And he's not the type that really he's not going to be an ass about it, but
Hmm.
he's not the type to sugarcoat really anything.
Right, right. Which I appreciate, honestly. I appreciate honesty more than anything else because
Oh
if
yeah.
you're not honest, then how am I gonna get better? You know what I mean?
Oh, that's exactly the thing. If you got
Hmm.
something you need to improve on, if people aren't going to tell you that, then you're just going to go on thinking, "Hey, you're doing it just fine." When in
Yep.
reality, you're fucking it up.
Yep. Exactly. So like, um, we show up to the venue. I'm nervous as hell. Everyone's saying, dude, you got Brandon. It's gonna be fine. Just keep your ears open, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, I don't know, man. I've never had a match before, blah, 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 this and that. It's like, I don't even know, like, what do you mean keep my ears open? What the fuck am I, like, I don't know. And so I was freaking out, but I was trying to stay as calm as possible. Brandon, he showed up and he's like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. Nothing too crazy, call you out, gonna do the thing. I'm gonna do this, maybe some of this. Just keep your ears open. I got you, blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, bet. I was like, I feel a little bit more calm now. And so, I get this nice worn out singlet put on and put my shorts on over, and I look like your basic creator wrestler in any WWE game.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
come walking out to no music. Brandon's got the crowd laughing at me, and this is heel Brandon, lead of the messengers, and everything like that. So it was like, damn, like this is gonna be interesting. But yeah, we went through the match, and honestly, like minus like one hiccup, it was a lot of fun.
I bet.
Uh, I was surprised as to like how much offense, Brandon even allowed me. I'm still very grateful that he even did that for me. Um, and it was something like that. That's when I definitely got fully hooked on this whole dream because even though I'm not too well favored by the crowd now, at that time they were rooting for the underdog, right?
Yeah.
And so they were all hot for me and everything like that. As soon as it looked like I might get the upper hand at least one time on Brandon. And when they erupted, it was like, ooh, that got my adrenaline going until he
Yeah.
planted my ass with a DDT and hit the 1, 2, 3. But regardless, when I got behind the curtain, it was like, damn, that feeling is addicting. It was like I need more of that. So like that whole day was just like it felt so good to finally step in the ring and especially across from Brandon.
Oh yeah. And that feeling that you were talking about, yeah, it is very addicting. I've only had a couple tastes of it, not the active in-ring part, but commentary and guest ring announcing. Yeah, when that
Hmm.
crowd gets going, it's something else.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, no, it just leaves you wanting more of it. So
Oh, 100%.
I can definitely relate. And talking about the crowd not being behind you now, you and your manager, pretty intimidating dude in his own right when he's out there. Manager Moose, boy, he's like, I mean, I'm not a small dude myself, and I'm like looking up at him like, hello.
Right.
So how did that come about for the two of you?
So essentially what had happened was it was kind of a point where we were both needing something to do, right? And it come to O Comic Con back in 23, my first full on venture as a newcomer in PWP and attempting to make a name for myself. I kind of showed up and they were like, "Hey, just to let you know, your character might not be exactly what you expect." And I'm like, "Oh yeah?" And they're like, "Yeah, you're gonna be quite the dickhead." And I'm like, "Oh, is that so?" Did not expect that. Most guys start out as a nice guy, but if I gotta be a dick, I'll be a dick, right? And then they also said, we're also gonna pair you up with Moose. And I was like, oh, really? I was like, pair me up with Moose. I was like, that's unexpected, but also welcome. And me and Moose were talking about it, and it's like, well, more than likely we can make this work. After a few matches that weekend, it was like, hey, we can definitely make this work. So it
I
was,
was
it was,
actually there for part of that weekend, so yeah,
yeah.
it was something.
But yeah, no, that was our first taste at actually like working together. And so it was just like, we go through these matches and it was like we finally felt out each other's like play style and everything like that. And it's like, oh, we can make this work. We can take this to the waiting round and everything like that. So, is what it
Oh yeah,
is.
oh yeah. For those outside of our area, oh, Comic Con, not on the level of like, I mean, obviously San Diego. I mean, that shit's nuts. That's
Right.
actually where I was stationed. And let's just say you didn't venture anywhere near downtown San Diego when that damn thing was going on if you weren't going yourself.
I believe it.
You weren't getting anywhere fast. But, you know, we got a growing thing going here. It's popping back up every summer. And PWP does, handful of shows every day. They got the old Comic Con title, which, correct me if I'm wrong, it gets defended like all the time. But I've also I seem to remember that the person with it at the end of the weekend can like cash it in, like people say with the X Division title in TNA, and get a title shot. I
Hmm.
seem to remember that.
So I remember because 2019 O Comic Con was the first time I had seen PWP, and I do remember that show. They did like that last show that they did with the title, and it was like a big ladder match, I believe, um, where Con Artiste had won it, and the idea was that that was going to earn him a PWP championship shot, if I remember correctly. And then maybe Brett Bishop ended up winning it off of him after that. I can't remember, but at that time, that's what it was.
Yeah, I'm wanting to say that I wasn't there this last summer. I'm hoping to get out there this summer, but I might have to take the little one with me this time. But hey,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to mind it, especially if they bring him that summer, that year that we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I actually got both of these signed that weekend, Splinter
Right?
and Michelangelo.
Hell yeah!
And I got to tell the guy that voiced Michelangelo in the original cartoon that Michelangelo was always my favorite. And dude, we got in a solid like at least 10-minute conversation just on that. So that
That's awesome.
for the little kid in me that waited Saturday mornings for those cartoons and would get upset if I didn't get to watch the Ninja Turtles, you know, that
Right.
was like a highlight for me. But, you know, PWP, going back to them, they've got a lot of great shows. They got their version of the Royal Rumble, which should be coming up soon because it's generally around Royal Rumble time.
Actually, with PWP, they do it every September.
Every September. Okay, I
Yeah.
knew. Okay, I got it flipped around because there's a Battle of the Phoenix, and then which is that show, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's Year of the Phoenix, which I believe is the one coming up towards the end of as of this recording this month. So sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I get those two mixed up, but regardless, both great shows. But I do find particular enjoyment out of the Battle of the Phoenix because much like the Royal Rumble, you never know who's going to show up. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, good Lord, they've had Warhorse, they've had, and this one I know it caught me off guard because for people that know the at least some of the history of independent wrestling here in Omaha, the, some of the drama, the bad blood that ends up happening. Nobody would have expected this guy to show up. Talking about the late great Jason Strife,
Mm-hmm.
and when he showed up, I just remember the sound in that venue that night was like, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like didn't even come in the front door. It was like a back entrance they had, and he didn't come out before the show. Nothing. If you, hell, I was in there early and I didn't even know he was there.
Right.
But that, like I said, that I love that feel of it. Like, you never know who's going to show up.
Oh
And
yeah.
then, hell, dating myself maybe, but I still remember going to video rental places and going to the wrestling section and going straight to if they had any Royal Rumbles available, going and snatching up those and getting to watch like, oh god, Andre the Giant eliminating himself after Jake the Snake brought in his snake and
Right.
stuff like that. So I mean, not on that level, but with PWP, but they still have their surprises up their hands, and it's always a highlight of the PWP calendar for me, anyways.
For sure. Yeah. Definitely.
And other places that you were at, I know it's been a while since I've popped up at this place, but MWA, they have for outside of the area, mostly in, I believe it's Lincoln to Grand Island. They sprinkle through, some other places. Hell, even some other states now. I've been
Hmm.
seeing Illinois pop up. I'm wanting to say a few others that I can't remember off the top of my head. And again, correct me if I'm wrong because it's been a while, but you at least were, if not still, MWA Midstates champion. How has it been like there for you? Because I mean, they're like I said, they pop up all over the place.
Yeah, no. Am still MWA Midstates champion, going on 200 plus days here. Um, that MWA has just been a good time, to be honest. I've learned a lot from being at MWA. Like learning how to manage my schedule. Being at MWA helps learn that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Um, uh, like, but I don't know. MWA has given me so many like opportunities. It's insane. I've gotten to be in the ring with Super Mech Sean Hernandez twice.
Gonna say, yeah, he
One of
popped
those
up
locked
there.
in a cage while getting chopped 17 times by him, but that's okay.
It wasn't that a War Games match?
Yeah, that was a War Games match, and it definitely felt like it too.
I bet.
I also got to defend my title against world famous Cheeseburger.
Yes, yes.
Um,
The guy that was
Definitely.
the 300th episode of the podcast.
Oh, yes. Yeah, no, that's definitely a career highlight of mine. Being able to go one on one with him and open the show,
Mm.
and that was an outstanding experience in and of itself. And then also like there's certain guys in the local area that you kind of use as a way to test yourself.
Mm.
And early on in my career, I got the opportunity to work Brian Blade twice.
That,
Um,
yeah, he's one that definitely can be a measuring stick, for the lack of a
exactly,
better term.
exactly. And the first time I worked him in Lincoln, and I felt good about it and everything like that. But like, I just really wanted to show, like, hey, I can be something in your company. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, then we worked in McCook later on in April of 2024, and we one of the guys couldn't make it for the main event, so he plugged me in against him in the main event for at the time what was his title, the heavyweight championship of
Mm.
MWA, and we went out for like 15-20 minutes, and it just like it felt so natural, and it allowed me to know like, hey, you're doing really well, gotta keep at it, but you're doing really well so far if you can hang, which of course Brian knows how to carry anybody, so like, but
That he does, and I've had him on. God dang. Sometimes the exact number of the episode gets a little fuzzy after the amount of them that I've had,
right,
but I believe it was right before, leading up to when he got inducted into the Nebraska Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. I believe it was that year. I could be mistaken, and I'm going to feel bad if I am. But, anyways, yeah, no, they definitely, he's one of the measuring sticks. Branden Juarez, another one that, I think there isn't a person in our area that could say that he isn't one himself.
right.
And, there's a handful of others. But another place that I wanted to talk about, because these guys got a show, trying to remember when, but it's coming up relatively soon in Fremont for another title. You could be 10 or 2 belts coming up, going up for next level wrestling against another friend of mine. I need to get him on the podcast too, but Ryan Romantic, both Fremont guys,
Hmm.
What are you looking forward to there going into that match?
Well, I mean, first of all, I'm excited that this match will not only take place on a Saturday, but it's taking place in the Fremont City Auditorium in the heart of Fremont. As a Fremont Tiger myself, I am proud to represent Fremont in that match. Ryan likes to claim that it's his city. That's bullshit. It's my city. I will say that with this being the first time that the John C. Fremont Championship is on the line, I think it's only rightful that I go in there, stomp Ryan out, and take the belt myself. So,
I guess we will see because I know you definitely there's some people on the national scene that you definitely remind me of, and we'll go into them here in a little bit. But I'm excited. Hell, I might even have to. I forgot it was on a Saturday. I might have to see about popping out there if family stuff doesn't keep me from doing that. I would definitely love to be in attendance for that. So we'll have to see. But going into, you know, I mentioned people on the national scene that you kind of remind me of. Like I get visions of them in my head when I watch you. So I got two categories. The first one's a bit of a name game where I name off people and I try to theme it towards the guest as much as possible. And I figured with that idea that I had, each of these people are some that, you know, you remind me of, which, with, like suplexes and different stuff like that. That I see and I'm like, okay, I'm getting that image here. First one, guy that actually just made a return to AEW last night, one of my personal favorites, the Samoan submission machine, Samoa Joe.
yeah, I appreciate that. Samoa Joe has always been one of my favorites. I grew up like since like 2009 watching TNA, and Samoa Joe just has like a certain aura about him that just breathes intimidation. So that's what I try to bring. Sometimes it doesn't work, but that's what I try to bring.
I see it. I see it. And another, well, this guy isn't in the category, but he was actually, I mean, he was at least in a pre-tape video last night. But another guy that brings that intimidation factor, Tomohiro Ishii
Oh, okay.
from New Japan. Yeah, I see similarities there too. But man, I still just remember the first time I saw one of his matches over in New Japan. And, here in the States, a lot of the headbutts, sometimes they fall a little flat and, they don't look like, oh, wow, you didn't even come anywhere close.
Mhm.
Others, a little more believable. Him, first headbutt I saw him throw, you could hear the bone on bone smack. And I'm like,
Right.
okay, I have a headache now. But, going back to the category, the next guy, him and Samoa Joe have had a bit of a working relationship over, going back to TNA and Impact. The wow, words are hard. I was trying to remember one of his monikers, but you know what? We'll just go right into it. Taz.
Oh, yeah. That one I've got thrown at me a few times, which is obviously an honor, but
Oh yeah.
like he's like kind of like the bar that I'm trying to reach in terms of intensity.
Oh god, yeah. You look back to those original ECW days and some of the
Hmm.
stuff like, okay, you get heels out there now that it's like, well, I get it. You want to sell your merch, but there's those ones that's like that's almost like even more of a priority than being like a believable heel.
Right.
Taz was one of those that like you definitely, even though you knew the predetermined aspects of this or that, that guy was like and still is one of those. He's like a legit badass. I'm like, I'm not gonna fuck with that guy. I want to be
Right.
on his good side.
Exactly, right? Yeah, no,
Definitely.
like there are definitely like some heels who, like you said, still want to get that merch money at the end of the day. For me, I don't know, like I feel like if you're in this business to make money as soon as possible, I don't think that you're necessarily playing your chips correctly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me, if I'm told, "Hey, be a heel, piss them off, help the face get over," that's what I'm fucking doing. I'm going out and I'm talking shit the entire fucking time. Fuck the merch money. I just want to piss you the fuck off. I want you to keep coming out of the seat trying to fight me. I want you to try and step into this ring and fucking see if I'm really about it or not. You know, like, plus, it's just really fun to do, you know?
Oh
So,
yeah. And I've asked plenty of people like, that have played both sides. Like, which one do you prefer? And the thing that often comes up is being a heel is oftentimes more fun.
hmm
Like, although I have noticed this in some of the people that I've got to meet, before the podcast, even during, that like some of the guys out there that can admittedly play one sadistic son of a bitch. You
hmm
get them behind the camera, oftentimes some of the nicest people out there. Like Swerve. I got
hmm
a figure from him up there. Like we've all seen it on AEW. He can play one sadistic son of a bitch. But you get
Right.
him off camera, still one of the nicest dudes ever.
Right.
And I got a little AEW kick here because hell, this guy had one of his first matches last night. What one of his first matches back last night, I should say. But I get those vibes with him and you, Will Hobbs.
Oh, yeah. A little bit condensed down, right? You
A,
know?
yeah, a little bit, but the attitude,
hmm
especially when he's playing a heel,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like he don't give a shit. He will
hmm
be there to rile you up and just beat the snot out of you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. To me, there's really like, that's kind of like my favorite attitude to watch, right? To just watch someone give zero fucks about their own actions and their own moral code and just literally decimate their opponent in any way, shape, or form that they see fit in order to win the match. And in my opinion, I think that's the best attitude to watch.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely the attitude that I've gravitated towards. Those intense personas, like hell, I'll even admit there's people that growing up, it admittedly scared the shit out of me. But
Right?
going back and watching them, I'm like, oh my god, I love it now. Like Bruiser Brody,
Mm,
like I just remember seeing his wild entrances growing up and like, oh my god, no, keep him away from me. But
right?
now, just that old school, just beat the snot out of you, just wild man attitude. I love it. All right, last but not least for the name game here, Hall of Famer in his own right, Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle.
Ooh. Now, which era of Kurt Angle we talking about?
Oh boy. Now I'm wanting to say the one that jumps out the most to me is some of those early TNA days.
Oh yeah,
That
yeah.
intensity
No,
that he brought then was just like, especially those initial vignettes, and you're just watching like oh, I get
yeah.
goosebumps thinking about it.
I feel like TNA Angle is incredibly underrated.
Totally. And it's wild thinking that he spent more time there than he actually did with WWE. When you
Right?
when you really look at it, it's like, Holy shit! Yeah, y'all weren't kidding.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought about it.
Yeah, no, Kurt Angle though, like that intensity is something else. Like for me, like throughout this whole next year, the biggest thing I'm trying to add to my game is intensity, is aggressiveness, is to like really just let all my rage out on my opponent in every match that I have. Like that's like my biggest thing. And watching guys like Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe and Taz, it's just like all those guys just know how to just let the intimidation and aggression speak for itself.
Oh yeah, hell, going back to Taz. I don't know why I didn't bring it up when we were talking about him initially. Man, when you can have the intense matches with a guy bigger than you, like Bam Bam Bigelow, and some of the
Hmm.
matches where they legit not only went through the ring,
Right.
but went through the entrance, is like, dude, uh, that era of Taz,
Hmm.
untouchable.
Oh yeah, easily.
All right, now I got some random questions, some wrestling related, some not. Some have nothing to do with anything we've talked about so far. So, first one, craziest in match moment for you.
Ooh, damn. I I'll say in that very first match that I had against Juarez, right? There was a moment where I was terrified for my well-being. Okay. Now let me paint this picture. Okay. He gets me down, lays me flat. Right. I'm laying there. I'm laying a bit too close to the ropes.
Oh
Right.
boy.
He leans over. He says, "Don't move." I was like, "All right." He leaves. He comes back after hitting the ropes. I just see this shadow eclipse the lights above me. I was like, "Oh fuck." And he hit a senton on me, but since I was too close to the ropes, he couldn't clear me 100%. And all of Branden Juarez landed right on my gut, and I was like, "Holy shit!" And I was very concerned for the health of my body after that for a split second.
For,
Uh,
I can understand that.
but I
Oh,
was good. I was good.
oh no. I've seen him in some crazy moments from. I don't remember if you were there at the time, but they had basically a version of War Games without the cage. It was like a prisoner of war match, I believe they called it, where everybody
Oh, right.
everybody was like handcuffed to different parts of the ring, and everybody had the weapon to bring in. And
Hmm.
I remember they went out into the street. Uh, Pat and Brandon had a little struggle with a bundle of light tubes, and then I'm sitting front row, and Pat Powers ends up getting spun around, like he got hit and spun around right in front of me,
Hmm.
all bloodied up. So there's like blood flying on my shirt, on my phone, and my wife would probably think I was crazy, but I was like, yes, loved it.
Yeah, no, actually, now that you bring up Pat and in the street, that brought up another crazy moment for me, arguably crazier because this was a bit much. But me and Pat wrestled each other at the Nightmare on 36th Street show down on 6th Street back in
Mm,
October, and out of
nice.
nowhere, what's that?
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Out of nowhere, me and Pat decide like, what if we just had a street fight? It's like, all right. So Pat gets on the mic before our match, cuts a promo, says, "Oh, we're having a Nightmare on 36th Street fight." It's like, okay. So, you know, we start off for like maybe 2 seconds in the ring, and then from there we just go to the outside and we're bopping each other. The crowd is like on fire, and we're bopping each other. At one point, I toss him on top of a dumpster. he's like, okay, get up here. And I'm like, I'm 270, but I'll try. I wiggle my way up there. I thought we were going through the dumpster. Didn't happen, thank God. We eventually go over to the cop that was, like monitoring the show. And he was originally supposed to lead us into the street and block off traffic for us. After I suplex Pat on the concrete, I walk over to the cop. Cop had no idea. I was like, oh, fuck. So I just grab Pat and I roll him back in the ring and we start bopping each other again. Pat says, fuck it. We're going to the street anyway. Toss me out. I was like, say less. I grab him. I throw him out. The fan slides me a chair. And literally, without any precaution, we just go right into the street on 36th Street. And I just walk out into traffic. The cars are stopping and everything like that. Watch me walk out into the street, slamming Pat over the back with a chair.
Oh, wow.
And that was literally one of the craziest things we've done. I was like, what the fuck are we doing?
Oh man. Now I wish I was at that one.
Oh, that was a wild one.
Oh, that sure sounds like it. And I've witnessed my fair share of crazy ones from that prisoner of war match to a handful of matches that conveniently all seem to happen at Sammy Callahan's promotion Revolver.
Yeah.
Oh God. And coincidentally enough, a few of them all involve the same three people in the former Second Gear crew of Manders, Mance Warner, and Matthew Justice.
Yeah.
I actually got to joke with them that their matches might as well be sponsored by Home Depot.
Right.
But man, I love it. I loved it. But man, yeah, complete craziness. Now, we kind of talked a little bit about a goal that you have for, wrestling wise for 2025. What's another goal you have for this coming year that we are now just getting into?
I mean, essentially, the way that my goals line up in wrestling are little bits and pieces at a time, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
And I'm just trying to knock off every small goal as possible. But I think my main goal for this year is to, one, break out of the Midwest, and two, to hold a main title for any company.
That's the thing with really any company that you go to. If your goal in being there isn't to be that main guy, what the fuck are you even doing being there?
Exactly.
All right, now coming up, I'm a outside of wrestling big football guy. We got this Super Bowl coming up. I mean, we got a little bit of the playoffs still going, but the Super Bowl, one of the biggest eating days of the year. I know I have my favorite foods. What are some of yours?
I could fuck up some hot wings.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yep.
yeah. You get me going on some hot wings. I'll tear through the damn things.
Exactly. Yep. Wings are definitely my go-to.
Though when it comes to like a Super Bowl party, oh totally.
Oh,
I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. Holy shit. Although I gotta say, I've done one spicy eating challenge, only one I'll ever do. I'm not
right.
It was a Buffalo Wild Wings Blazing Wing challenge.
Oh yeah.
And it was actually set up outside the College World Series. And I was just like, oh, screw it. I'm met up with my dad. He was going one way. I was parked over some other place. I'm like, yeah, screw it. Why not? One guy next to me quit within like a wing and a half. I told myself there is no way I am not completing this unless the damn time runs out. I completed it with about like 45, 50 seconds left.
Yeah.
But my hands were burning clear through the next morning. They gave you water afterwards. it could have been ice cold, but it felt like it was coming out of a fucking coffee pot.
Yup.
And I didn't have any ointment to put on my hands for the burn, so I just found 2 bags of frozen hash browns and threw them on my hands. But I still love me some damn hot wings. Can't.
Definitely.
All right, now outside of wrestling, I definitely have some of my favorite shows. I mean, growing up, Ninja Turtles one of them.
Mhm.
What is a favorite show of yours to watch outside of wrestling? Because I can imagine being in the business, while you do like to keep up on, current stuff, every now and then you like to watch something else.
Mhm. So pretty much, like TV hasn't really been like my big thing. Like I've gotten into a lot of TV shows here and there, but like the main thing that I love to watch is Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball is my shit. I live and breathe that shit 24/7.
My brother-in-law definitely big into that, and oh god, what's the other one? I can't remember off the top of my head, but
Mhm.
man, I'll admit I'm still a sucker Ninja Turtles. I mean, hell, up here I got
Right?
all, I have all but 2 of the Universal Monster mashups.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
still hunting down those 2, and then I got from the I forget, I think the first movie, like
Mhm.
the first one from like the friggin' '90s or whatever,
Yep.
dude. But still, my opinion, one of the probably my opinion the best one, Secret of the Use.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Love it. Hell, I even have a 30th anniversary Super Shredder back there.
God bless.
I want to get that signed by Kevin Nash if I ever do get to meet him.
Right? There you go.
All right, now with the name of a show like I have, I feel like I have to ask this: favorite drink, alcoholic or otherwise? Because I've had plenty of people on that for one reason or another don't drink, so
Mhm.
I always try to tell people just because it says Drinkin' doesn't mean that it has to be alcoholic. Even though
Right?
I do enjoy a good alcoholic beverage every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah, me myself, I also do not partake in drinking. However, my favorite drink that I go to is like uh I do Dr. Pepper zero sugar
Mm,
or
I got a diet right here.
there you go, there you go. And if I need energy, I do an orange Celsius.
Those are good. I do energy drinks. I do enjoy the C4 ones, like the popsicle brand ones. I'm
Mhm.
rather fond of the cherry popsicle brand ones.
Right, right.
They and like zero sugar, so
Yeah.
it's like hell with the doctors wanting to have me cut down on the sugary stuff.
Yep.
That way, I still get that. I'm a Dr. Pepper fiend, so I still get my Dr. Pepper every once in a while.
Yep.
All right, now last but not least here, best advice you have for anybody wanting to get into wrestling.
Ooh. The best advice for someone starting fresh would be to just simply study. And what I mean by that is for me, for example, I was only allotted so much ring time throughout each month, right? And so the way that I upped my game and made sure I was competing at a high level by the time that I was ready was to study all the matches that I could, really study each movement, why it was done this way, the purpose in doing so, um, really practicing at home all of my promos, practicing my fundamentals, like footwork is extremely important. footwork is like one of the first things that promoters will look at, because if you got stupid goofy feet, you're not getting booked, right? Simple stuff like that. It's like you can't break away from the fundamentals. You got to practice your strikes, you got to practice your tie-ups, and you got to practice your footwork. Until those are not just solid but good, even great, do not move past those. Don't be quick to fire off on a gimmick, to order new gear, to practice suplexes, everything like that. The fundamentals, as soon as you have those down, everything else will fall in line.
Yeah, they always say fundamentals are key, and especially in a business like professional wrestling, where you got to be mindful of where the cameras are at, and
Mm-hmm.
making sure going along with the footwork, making sure your footwork isn't fucking up and getting you in a spot where hey, you're blocking the damn camera.
Mm-hmm.
Little shit like that. But
Right.
yeah, all fundamentals very important. All right, now before we go, where can people find you social media wise? So if they don't already have their eyes on Tanner Rankin, they can go ahead and get them there.
Yeah, so the main form of social media that I use are both on Facebook and Instagram. Facebook is just my name, Tanner Renken. Instagram is also my name, but it's Tanner double underscore Renken on Instagram. Just hit 500 followers in December. Hoping to
Nice.
hit 1,000 by the end of this year. We'll see what happens though.
Awesome. We'll get all of that in the description. I know podcasts, as far as YouTube goes, I actually just recently went over 400 subscribers. I think I'm sitting at like 406 as of recording. So
Hell yeah.
I'm definitely way past wherever I thought I was going to get.
Right.
But hey, I look forward to seeing where you go. I will definitely be trying to keep an eye on if I'll be able to make it out to that next level wrestling show, because hey, who doesn't love to get to watch an inaugural champion being crowned? I know I
Exactly.
love it. But that is about all I have. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me tonight. Best of luck out there becoming Tanner Two Belts.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
All right. See the thing with the fucking button.